What is up, comic book fans? It is another edition of 5 in 5 for the week of May 30th, 2018, where I tell you the 5 books that you should pick up in around 5 minutes. Let's dive right in. At number 5 this week, we've got Pestilence, a story of Satan, #1, written by Frank Thierry, with art by Oleg Okunev. The second volume of Aftershock Comics' Pestilence kicks off this week, and honestly, I don't know how I missed the first volume. It sounds awesome. It sounds like medieval horror at its best, so I definitely won't be missing this second volume when it kicks off this Wednesday. The first volume, simply entitled Pestilence, dealt with the plague as a weaponized zombie outbreak virus used by the church to target the lower class. This second volume has a much more terrifying villain in it. Satan himself. The series as a whole is a brutally awesome, brutally gruesome tale that just asks questions about how much power the church in England had in the medieval ages. Especially the question, what if the zombie apocalypse has already happened and we've never been told about it? Coming in at number 4 this week, we've got The Wilds #3. Written by Vita Ayala and drawn by Emily Pearson. While The Walking Dead still may be the golden standard of zombie-filled comic book stories, The Wilds is a zombie comic story like you've never seen before. The zombies in The Wild aren't your typical grotesque, bloody, nasty zombies. You see, in The Wilds, the zombie virus that ended the world doesn't turn them into these gross, half-dead, undead nightmares. Instead, they get reclaimed by nature. So when they get infected, they just start to sprout plant life, and it makes for some truly captivating panels that you just stare in awe at the page at how pretty it all looks. Aside from the art, it's got a pretty awesome story too, and the world that's been built by Ayala and Pearson in these first 3 issues has been pretty incredible. Honestly, The Wilds is my sleeper hit of the year. I think it's fantastic. I recommend it to everyone I talk to. Definitely pick this book up. I promise you won't be disappointed. At number 3, we've got Doomsday Clock #5, written by Jeff Johns with art by Gary Frank. With so many massive titles coming out of DC in the past few months, things like Metal, Justice League No Justice, Action Comics 1000. This might be DC's best ongoing title right now. The creative team behind Batman Earth 1 is back at it again, bringing the Watchmen into the main DC universe, but they haven't tainted the legacy of those characters. In fact, they've strengthened it by bringing in even more characters from the Watchmen universe into the DC universe, and doing it so effortlessly that it all works together, and it's beautiful. Doomsday Clock gave us the Mime and the Marionette, who have honestly become probably my favorite villains in comics right now. They're super entertaining, they're Joker-esque, but a little bit more sadistic, if you can believe that, and they're supposed to be featured pretty heavily in #5 as they wreak havoc across Gotham City. With Doomsday Clock being on a bi-monthly release schedule now, it's a big deal when it comes out. It's worth celebrating. Don't miss it. Pick it up. You got a lot of time between this issue and the next one before it comes out in July, so you gotta grab it. It's gonna be awesome. At number 2 this week, we've got The Amazing Spider-Man #800, written by Dan Slott, with art by Stuart Immonen and other guest artists like Mike Hawthorne. He's in it. That's awesome. If it's a massive milestone issue, you know we're gonna talk about it in 5 in 5, especially when it's Marvel's most successful, friendliest neighborhood superhero. I'm talking about Spider-Man. Issue #800, it's amazing, it's fantastic. I grew up reading Spider-Man comics. I'm super stoked to see it at such a huge number. Amazing Spider-Man #800 concludes Dan Slott's Go Down Swinging arc, his final arc on the character, which some people has hailed as one of the best Peter Parker, Norman Osborn stories ever told. Now, it is a $10 issue, which might turn some people off, but it's also 80 pages of story. That's pretty big. It's almost a graphic novel, it's so large. And it's going to have some revelations about Peter Parker moving forward. It's going to shake up his foundation, and it's going to pay homage to the last 10 years of Dan Slott's work. So if you like Dan Slott's Spider-Man, you got to pick this one up. Alright, and our #1 choice this week is Man of Steel #1, written by Brian Michael Bendis, art by Joe Prado and Ivan Rice. It's finally here. No more speculation, no overblown hype, no more articles talking about what he did wrong at Marvel and what he's going to do right with DC. No more giant 2-page splash ads in the middle of your book that say, Brian Bendis is coming. Brian Michael Bendis has came. That came out weird. Now, Brian Michael Bendis' actual debut as Superman came in Action Comics 1000. But this is his first full issue, full arc of Superman, kicking off this week. 6 issues over 6 weeks. It's going to be a hell of a ride. People have been very, very excited about this, whether you love or hate Brian Michael Bendis. He really did shape so much of what Marvel is now, and it looks like DC is giving him the complete reins on Superman. So it's a huge shakeup just for the comic book industry alone to see what is Brian Michael Bendis going to do. Can he do the same thing he did at Marvel? You got to imagine that if there's big changes for Superman, there's going to be big changes for the universe as a whole. So even if you're not a Superman fan, but you're a fan of DC, you really need to pick this up and see what's going to happen, because if there's a massive change for Superman, it's going to affect the Justice League, which is going to affect Batman, which will affect the Bat family. So Brian Michael Bendis could create domino effects that affect the entire DC universe. And if you're not a Brian Michael Bendis fan, that might scare you. But I think he's going to do a killer job. Alright, that about wraps it up for 5 and 5 for the week of May 30th, 2018. Make sure you subscribe, review, comment, share, do whatever you want with this video online. Just watch it. And make sure to check back at adventuresinpoortaste.com on Wednesday for reviews of all these comics and for any other news you need in the comic book world. I'll see you guys next week.